Milo Winter is still on my mind.
Hello, my name is Audra Winter. I'm a 22-year-old author who has been working on my series in my world for 10 years, and we're going to talk about this today. We're also going to talk about Malcolm Gladwell's theory of 10,000 hours to mastery. If you are not familiar what that is a theory, obviously, by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. Super good book. I highly recommend it. I read it in high school, and I'm willing to bet some people watching this video might have also read it in high school.
To be fair, I have not read it. I was homeschooled. Badly.
He states that writing is a developed skill. It is not a natural born talent. And in order to achieve mastery, he says that one must spend 10,000 hours. I have achieved mastery according to Malcolm Gladwell's theory.
Theory. It's a theory, which means it is unproven and untested, and there is actually no way to prove it and test it. And a lot of authors are gonna tell you it doesn't work that way.
Every single night since I was 12 years old, I have written for at least 3 hours. That is not an exaggeration. That is not me making stuff up. That is genuinely how I go to sleep at night. Anytime I have a free moment to think, it is thinking about this world. So we're just gonna assume 3 hours. We're gonna do some calculations here. Now I'm a writer, so I have a notebook where I got some help from Google. And we're gonna see with calculations if I have achieved mastery by Malcolm Gladwell's definition. If you don't think I have the 10,000 years of hours in writing, I do definitely at least have 10,000 hours in world building.
Milo. Those are two different things. However, now that I've watched the Crimson Rogue video and his whiteboard stick images and the absolute clusterfuck of those whiteboard stick images.
This is actually so convoluted and such a mess historically that the only way that I can actually break this down is...
I'm going full Pepe Sylvia on your asses.
You gotta be kidding me, I got boxes full of Pepe!
Only instead of boxes of Pepe, we got boxes of inconsistencies.
What, did any of you actually think this was going to answer anything satisfactory?
Even for world building, this 10,000 hours clearly does not work.
Like so many other parts of the book, there are elements within this stupid mural backstory that are inconsistent within itself. And it's only 7 pages long. It shouldn't be that hard for internal consistency. I'm not asking for a lot.
This is not mastery. If you are clicking on this video, I kind of assume you already know who Milo Winter is and what Age of Scorpius is. But just in case you don't, Age of Scorpius was a young adult sci-fi fantasy novel that was the debut release of indie author Milo Winter, and it initially had great success, and then it did not, and it has quite frankly been an internet car crash that people still can't seem to look away from. And if you want more information on that, Laura Ray Says and Meredith Novico have both done great videos talking about the situation, multiple videos each, because this has been a long-going drama. If you want something that actually breaks down the timeline, I highly recommend Cheat Sheet Productions videos. Highly recommend those. And if you want to know why people are so critical of the book and why people say the book is so bad, Crimson Rogue has blessed us with an over 10-hour critique review of the Age of Scorpius. Now, in my video, I predicted that his video was going to be about 12 hours long. I overshot that. It's only 10 hours. Only 10 hours. Come on. Compared to 12, that's nothing. It took me a few weeks to get through that video, but it just drove home. Oh my God, Milo, what were you doing? Now, in my last video, I think I was too nice. In part because I have a lot of empathy for Milo in that there are some parallels between our situations. We have both worked on a fantasy series, developing it for over 10 years. We both put out books that we ended up having to take down. We've both been writing from a young age, and I could also understand pretty much every decision he made, even as I was going, that is the worst possible decision to make, and the fact you are making that proves you are both not mature enough to be handling this, and also that you are not coming at this from a mentally healthy place. I know, because I have been in a mentally unhealthy place myself for over a year at this point. Long story there. However, I'm 12 years older than Milo, so I've been writing 12 years longer than Milo has been. I have studied writing. I've read a lot of the books, both on writing and fiction. I've studied human psychology. I have done my work to improve my writing. I've also been part of multiple beta reading circles and critique reading circles. I've put in the work to get better at my craft, not just writing or world building for 10,000 hours, the way Milo loves to talk about. I empathize with Milo, I sympathize with Milo, because I watch this whole situation and I'm going, this is my worst nightmare. I cannot imagine being in this situation. That would be so awful. But again, and maybe it's because my mental health has gotten better over the last couple months, I've actually taken a step back and gone, one, like I said, I have put in a lot of work to improve at my writing. I have taken critique. I have actively studied writing. There's a reason I watch Crimson Rogue's reviews, and it's not just for the drama, it's to actually learn. I wouldn't have gotten myself into this situation. Like, I've talked in other videos, the first time I showed a fanfic to someone, I entered a fan fiction contest at a local anime convention when I was like 15, and I was extremely arrogant at the time, and when I lost and didn't even make it into honorable mentions, I was like, sorry, what do you mean I lost? And I was like, okay, well, your writing needs some work. And I was like, okay, then I'm gonna work on my writing. Like, I've been in similar positions, right? And I put in the work to get better. And I'm looking at it going, as much as I empathize with some of what Milo has been through, and I understand how he got there, and especially the excitement of writing your first book and wanting to put it out, I don't think I would have gotten myself into this position. I like to think I'm smart enough I would have avoided it. And so that made me step back, and I'm like, you know what, and almost as soon as I put my video out, I was like, I think I may have been too nice. And that was already when I started thinking, maybe I need to do a follow-up video. But I came to the conclusion, it's like, what's the point if all I'm gonna do is say the same things again, but meaner? Now, the fact we are here today, and I'm recording this video, should tell you I found something to say that I didn't say before. And since this is a channel where I talk about whatever is on my mind, and Milo Winter is still on my mind, we're gonna talk about Milo Winter today. Also, something I forgot to mention in my Age of Scorpius initial video, another reason why I felt kind of connected to Milo is because, you know, what's the pen name? Milo Winter, right? My name is Song W. Erickson. Do you know what the W stands for? Well, I've done a whole video on how I came up with my pen name. It's Song Winters Erickson. That's what the W stands for, is Winters. And around the time this whole Age of Scorpius drama started, I was actually thinking about maybe I should drop the Erickson from my name and just be Song Winters. Again, I did a whole video on that. and everything. And then the drama started going down. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep the Erickson because I don't necessarily want to be associated with the Age of Scorpius stuff. I don't want anyone to get confused and think maybe I'm Milo. So thank you, Milo, for saving my fangirl inside joke pen name. That was basically created by Tumblr. Again, whole video on that. Now, not only did I find one thing to talk about, I found a couple. I was doing a little digging around just to see if Milo had posted anything new in the last couple months, if there was any kind of update, and I found a post on his Tumblr that I haven't seen anyone else address. So I wanted to bring that up first. This was an anonymous ask that he received on, or at least that he answered on January 17th. Okay, I'm just gonna read it. Hi Milo, I'm wondering if you could set the record straight for us. For you, personally, what are the hard lines you'd like drawn when it comes to referring to your pre-transition self? Are we allowed to still share TikTok? Sorry. Let me keep reading. Are we allowed to share TikToks or images from when you were presenting Femme? Can we still refer to the pen name you used to publish AOS, or is that just as bad as dead naming you at this point? It can be different for everyone, and I do not want to assume. Thank you, and good luck with your writing. Again, this was answered on January 17th, so before the second edition was canceled. The answer he's about to give, I'm sorry, I'm already worked up and I haven't even gotten to his answer yet. But let me just read it. I have a lot of asks to answer, but this one just came in. There is only one other ask that has been answered since this one. I have a few questions like this asking about my name change, so I want to take the chance to clarify. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry. I'm trying to just read this, but I've read it before, and my preference is that my old videos content from when I was preventing Femme is not used or shared when discussing or talking about my writing or projects now. I'd be really uncomfortable with someone using old content of me while talking about Alterlife, for example. AOS and Guardian will consistently and always be under Milo Winter now, just as it was under Audra Winter before. I avoid looking at any media of myself online because I know I will see my pre-transition self. Audra is a dead name at this point, but I don't at all mind being referred to as Winter. And no, I was not aware that there was a children's book author named Milo Winter. Hang on. Okay, I'm gonna get to the other part in a second. I'll get to it. So when you picked a new pen name, you didn't Google it? You didn't check the SEO on it? Okay. When I came out, I actually came out to the team first and had them refer to me as Winter until I was ready to fully come out as transgender and before I chose my new name. Again, you chose your name. You didn't do an SEO search. Winter's been my pseudonym since I was 12. It stuck after all this time. When I chose my new first name, I decided I would have the same first name pseudonym and autonym. We know Audra was not his actual name, his actual dead name IRL. It was just the pen name he chose before transitioning. But Milo is his actual IRL name and his pen name. Okay. Winter's been my pseudonym since I was 12. My legal dead name was already doxed, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable to be referred to as that dead name. Fair enough. When I came across Milo, I looked up the meaning, said it out loud a few times, and then chose it. Again, you didn't do an SEO search. It was an instant decision. I just rolled with it. I loved it. Immediately, I told the team, and Immediately, I told the team and close friends to refer to me as Milo, and then that sealed Milo Winter as a pen name. I mistakenly did not look up if there was anyone in the literature world named Milo Winter. Oh well. I don't know if I believe you. I'm sorry, I don't know if I believe you. On a similar note, I published Alter Life under Milo Prather. Prather is his actual last name, I believe, because I could. It's a personal poetry collection. The writing in Alter Life is separate from Guardian. It represents me as a human. And then he goes on to talk about the high disturbance essay. I didn't bother screenshotting that part. Okay. Let's go back to the part that really bothers me, which is my preference is that my old videos content from when I was presenting Femme is not used or shared when discussing or talking about my writing or projects now. You can't do that. Especially by January 17th, 2026. Things were way too far along. Saying that sounds like you're just trying to silence people and get them to stop talking about you if they can't include any of your TikTok videos. I also want to point out that all his TikTok videos are still up and public and easily accessible. You can go watch them right now. It's not as if people who are reacting to them and including them in videos have to go somewhere else to find them. You can still get them directly from his account. Again, while I think I may have been too nice to Milo in my last video, I will still give him some grace in this one. Less, but some grace still. And this is where I don't have a lot of grace. I understand that transitioning is a really big deal. I also understand that it's probably difficult to see your past self. There were some people, even trans people, who said that the timing of the transition felt a bit odd because it felt like he was trying to duck out of taking accountability and was just trying to distance himself from a name that had become so controversial, while also trying to kind of imply that the people who were calling him Audra were transphobic and that they were dead naming him, which is why it's extremely commendable and impressive, but also appropriate, of course, that the book community turned on a dime and they started calling him Milo so fast. You're not getting out of this. That is where I continually come down on this, is it's like, you can project blame on your editors, you can try to claim that, your editors didn't do their job, you can try to say that someone else critiquing your book was the reason you failed, you can try to project and try and assign blame, you can try to... You're not getting out of this. You can't. The only person who is responsible for everything that has happened is you, Milo. Everything. I talked in my last video about this, how I was watching this whole thing going, there but for the grace of God go I. But even then, it's you are making these decisions. You are the one digging the hole. You are the one making everything worse. And if you were actually listening to the criticism people gave you, you might have realized what you could have done better. But you couldn't do that. And I understand if it was hard to watch criticism of yourself. I get that. But you had a whole team that you didn't even need. You had an entire team who were running your Patreon and running your social media and running everything and trying to cover your ass for the mistakes you made. You should have had them looking at the critique you were receiving, taking notes, figuring out the common denominators in all these critiques and bringing them back to you to say, hey, this is what everyone is saying. This is what we should work on. I said in my last video, the thing about critique, when you have a lot of people who are saying the same thing, who are all calling out the exact same problems, you have to consider that they have a point. You have to take a step back. And eventually, Milo admitted that, yeah, he took a step back and he actually tried to read the book and realized that the critique about the writing was correct. It didn't stop him trying to assign blame. It didn't stop him still making the business stuff. It didn't stop him from digging down and going, I'm gonna get more art. I'm gonna hire more people. I'm gonna do this and that. Milo. I would say stop, but he has stopped now. Now, kind of tying into what I just said about how you cannot silence people from responding to your old content and your old TikToks and all your old videos just because you've transitioned. In my last video, I did not play any of Milo's videos. I did not respond to any of them directly. There is one I want to respond to now, and this is specifically a cut from Cheat Sheet Productions' How Milo Winter Killed His Public Image video, so it is trimmed for brevity. Multiple other video essayists have used this clip because it is very telling about Milo's mentality. And as I was watching it again, I'm like, okay, I think I want to do a direct reaction.
Okay, I'm gonna be so honest. I had a much longer video recorded responding to this, but I don't want to humor you that much because you are clearly trying to get attention. You have not done any sort of research on my page, and you have just decided to go into multiple of my videos and be negative. It's not constructive criticism. It's not. This is not what constructive criticism is, and I know what constructive criticism is because I have been in the publishing industry for 10 years and written 10 books.
No, you haven't. I have been in the publishing industry for 10 years. From what I understand, this video came out in either 2025. Now, Milo originally got an agent in 2021. Now, he says that he wrote 3 books while he was with the literary agent. And then there's been contradictions saying both that he was dropped when the agency no longer wanted to represent speculative fiction. At the same time, he has also said that he left to protect the integrity of his story. Now, there was a Tumblr user who reached out to the literary agent who said that they dropped Milo because he wouldn't listen to criticism. Take this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, that is what I expected. That is what I personally suspected happened, was that he kept writing and didn't listen to any of the developmental editors or anyone who was trying to say, hey, maybe this would work better. But because of that, where are you getting that you have been in the publishing industry for 10 years? You got dropped by a literary agent because allegedly you wouldn't listen to their advice. And even then, that would only have been within the last 5 years. Before that, you self-published a book when you were 14, and at that point you'd worked in fan fiction. You may have been working on this story and this world since you were 12, but that doesn't mean you've been in the publishing industry for 10 years.
I have redone the first book time and time again to find the correct place to start, the correct story to tell. I have written book after book after book, and I have gone through the professional stages to have those books looked at. I also very much encourage you to look up Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers.
Oh God, this frustrates me so much. Milo has talked many times about Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers and the idea of 10,000 hours to mastery. One, this is a theory. He even says that it's a theory. It has no scientific backing. There's no proof that this works, but also working towards mastery on anything, including and especially writing, is not a matter of just writing for 10,000 hours, which even Milo says, oh, well, I spent 10,000 hours at least on world building. Okay, in my life, I have spent probably more than 10,000 hours drawing. But in the last year, I have become frustrated with the way I draw. So currently, I'm taking a step back and going, okay, I want to go back to the fundamentals. I want to actually work on the basics that I never really worked on before so that I can improve my art. Just because I have drawn 1,000 pictures, just because I have spent hours and hours on drawing, does not mean I have achieved mastery, because I did not build a proper foundation with the proper fundamentals. Just writing badly is not the same as 10,000 hours spent building and improving a skill to achieve mastery.
18 to 19 years old, I signed with my literary agency. Back then, my ex-literary agency. I was with them for 3 years. At that time, I had a developmental editor look over it while I was at the agency, and my literary agent. I ended up spending 3 years there and rewriting a book 3 times, like entirely different manuscripts.
Did you rewrite the manuscript, or did you write 3 completely different books? Because those are completely different things. Which one is it?
I left on my own will because I decided that I wanted to defend my idea and keep my creative freedom.
And as soon as I heard that, protect the integrity of the story, the little red flag in my brain went up and it was like, oh, you didn't want to take criticism. You didn't want to let anyone tell you what was wrong with the story.
And then hired the developmental editor who published The Hunger Games.
You hired a developmental editor, but they were not the developmental editor on The Hunger Games. They were part of the Hunger Games marketing team.
And a copy editor with 30 years of experience at Big 5 publishing houses.
Did you listen to their edits? That is a whole other thing with Reedsy and the stuff going on there that Milo has also lied about, but I'm not going to get into those details.
I have an entire studio. I have a team.
Why? Why do you have a whole team? We're going to get to the business side of things in a little bit. I promise. But why do you have a whole team? I talked about this in my last video. I'm going to talk about it again. Why do you have a whole team? And a studio.
I own a 6-figure business based around this world right now. And it's because I have been so successful on pre-orders that they just shipped, my books just shipped 5,700 books that I have sold on pre-order.
You got lucky. You got lucky that your book had a premise that appealed to a large group of people, that you made videos on TikTok that caught people's attention, and then that people bought your book in astonishing numbers on pre-order, untested, because no one had read any of it. It proves nothing. That is my point. The 5,700 books on pre-order, when no one had read any of the text, doesn't prove anything.
I have numerous artists that have read it twice. I have artists that cried at that book because of how powerful it was personally to them.
Go watch Crimson Rogue's review. I would be curious to know what it was about that book that brought tears to people's eyes.
Also, you have some audacity to get on my videos and comment about how it was not healthy for me to have this much passion and dedication for a project.
It wasn't healthy. I'm going to say this as someone who I suspect I am also neurodivergent, and I've been writing from a young age, and so I have learned that there is a healthy level of passion and dedication for a project. There is also an unhealthy level where you lose yourself in that world at the expense of everything else in your life. I'm saying from experience, I don't think the way you talk about this project, I do not think it was healthy.
How it's not normal. Babe, this is my special interest. Please, dear God, look up what a special interest is.
I understand it's your special interest. I still, as an author who has been in that position, I think you needed more space.
And I hope you can realize how that is such a harmful ideology, because being not normal for something like that is simply how my brain works and many other neurodivergent individuals and autistic individuals.
Are you trying to call them ableist? But it's not ableist, especially if it's coming from other authors who are neurodivergent, to say, hey, you need more space from this project.
I think your intention is either you are projecting onto me because you have not been successful, and somebody who is successful that has gone a different route than you are jealous of. Either that, or you were out for attention.
I don't even know what to say to that. I'm just gonna say it rubs me wrong.
And you were just solely making assumptions on my skill as a writer, and you don't have any basis for them. None.
Because they had no access to your writing before, and so you were completely untested. So your 5,700 pre-orders are not an indication of success other than your ability to market the book. Because once people got their hands on the book, they didn't like it.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and be able to talk about the credentials that I have, because I usually don't get the opportunity to do that because I like staying neutral about these things. But I do have a lot of experience in the writing industry. So,
what credentials? Now, Cheat Sheet Productions says in this video that Milo claims to be, that the story is award-winning. It won a Scholastic Award when he was younger. There's no other indication that it won awards. He did get grants. He says scholarships, but it seems like it was grants to cover his writing and stuff like that, but I also don't know specific details on that. I'm not seeing credentials here. Writing for 10 years is not a credential. I don't say... I've been writing for at least 10 years longer than Milo, okay? I've been writing seriously since I was 9 years old, so 25 years at this point. I indie published 2 books. I ended up taking them down. I have studied writing. I have researched literary agents and publishing and the whole process and stuff like that. I've never had a literary agent. So Milo has that up on me. I've also never been dropped or left a literary agent. I don't claim I have credentials. I've been writing longer. I don't claim I have any credentials. And nothing I'm seeing here actually sounds like a credential.
good luck in whatever you are doing. You're a musician, maybe? I don't know. Good luck in the music field. That's even worse. That's worse than writing. And I know that because I was there at one point too.
It's so bitchy. That's part of what grates me so much about this video. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm saying this, and that means in the future, I need to be careful to not get too sassy or snarky with critics. Because the last thing I want is in a few years, someone says something about my writing, I shoot back, and someone says, well, you sound like Milo Winter. That has become one of my new worst nightmare possibilities. But it's so bitchy, and it's just so snarky, and for what?
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Milo, none of this means anything. Especially because the book was bad, which completely disproves your advocacy for Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours theory. you have not achieved mastery. It is also extremely arrogant for a 22-year-old to try and claim that they are a master of writing. Because here's the thing, I have been writing for 25 years at this point. I've written multiple fan fictions that were fairly popular considering the size of the fandom they were in. I've written a couple books. I've been writing for years. I would not claim I'm a master. I think I'm competent, and I think I'm a pretty good writer. I think I'm worth reading. I would not say I am anywhere near mastery. Jane Austen famously described her writing process as feeling like trying to carve ivy with a fine-tooth brush. The very idea that Milo at 22 would even claim to be a writer proves that he has no respect for the craft. And we've seen how that went. We are at almost a year of this car crash, and it still has not reached the point of saturation. And even though everything has been said, a lot of people are still trying to dissect it, and a lot of people, myself included, still have a lot of things to say about it, just because there are so many layers and there are so many details. Like I said, after my fan fiction, my first fan fiction, which was really bad, like I can say that freely now, my really bad fan fiction didn't win a fan fiction contest, to my shock and horror. I said, okay, then I need to get better. I was about to ask, did Milo ever do that? Did Milo ever have a moment where someone said, hey, this isn't quite good enough? And Milo took that fire and said, then I'm gonna get better? And then I thought, yeah, allegedly, the agent. Allegedly, the editors at the literary agency said, hey, this needs some work, and they dropped him when he wouldn't listen. I've already been recording way longer than I expected, because I actually ended up having more to say than I thought I would. But I still want to talk about the business aspect, because this was actually the whole point of this video before I got distracted responding to TikToks. Art and business is a really weird thing, because one of the first criticisms I really remember seeing about Milo was the way he transitioned so hard into, I have a 6-figure business, I have this and that, and since he hadn't transitioned yet, a lot of people said it sounded like an MLM girl boss, the way he talked about the business and setting up a studio and setting up an LLC, and how part of why he wasn't able to edit the book properly was because he was so busy setting up the business. And I said multiple times in my last video, he should not, you know what, general advice to debut authors in particular, do not set a release date until your debut novel, your debut book is done. Until the editing is done, the formatting, until you are absolutely sure you are done with that book and you are ready to put it out, do not set a release date. Do not open pre-orders, because you do not know what's going to happen. And especially if it's your first time working on a book, you, probably like Milo, might seriously underestimate how long it takes to do things. I spent almost a year and a half editing my first book, and part of that was mental hang-ups. It took me a while to go from finishing the first book to actually putting it out. And part of that was because I was doing most of it on my own and I had other stuff going. Like I said, there were mental hang-ups involved. But editing takes time, especially if you are working with other people. And it is mind-boggling to me that according to the timeline Milo himself has talked about, that he thought 2 weeks from developmental editing was enough time to then send it to copy editing and line editing, and then release the book a few more weeks after that. He was sending the book to editors 2 months, maybe 2 months before the release date, while the pre-orders were already open. Like, Here's the thing. People complained that Milo transitioned from this kind of woo, kind of pagan vibe straight into entrepreneur MLM vibe that people got from him. And the funniest thing to me, darkly funny, laugh to keep from crying funny, is that Milo couldn't even handle the business side well. He leaned so hard into it and failed on every aspect of this. And again, part of me is sitting here going, should I be saying outright, yeah, Milo failed at every decision he made. Failed in the... But, like, is it bitchy for me to say that? I don't know, but it feels like it's really obvious. And it feels like I'm just paraphrasing what everyone else has said. This was a colossal failure, and Milo made the worst possible decision at every turn of this process. And the fun, like I said, laugh to keep from crying funny, the idea that he pivoted so hard into, I'm a business owner, I have a studio, I've made 6 figures, and couldn't handle that. Not a master writer, not a master of business, and now not even a business owner. When I originally sat down to talk about this, I was going to say, oh, Milo leaned too hard into the business. And then I want to give an example of someone who doesn't lean hard enough into the business. But I realized, no, it still didn't even lean hard enough into the business because he didn't do it right. Now, here's the thing. I'm not just a writer. I'm also an artist, which means I'm in artist spaces online, which means that I am well aware that every month or so, it seems, there is someone else who comes on Twitter and says, hey, I didn't want to do this publicly, but there is an artist who I paid for a commission 6 months, a year, sometimes even 2 years ago, that they still have not done. They keep opening up commissions and taking on more work, and not fulfilling the work that has already been paid for. And it's so frustrating to me as an artist to see the way some artists want to be professional artists but don't want to be professional about it. It's a business, right? When you get to the point where you are taking other people's money, Milo, when you get to a point where you are taking other people's money, you have to have a level of professionalism. The reason I wanted to bring this up was because I wanted to kind of say Milo leaned too hard into the business, and then I see these artists who don't lean hard enough into the business aspect of this, and I realized that it's just 2 completely different kinds of failure. Milo was not professional at all. As much as Milo wanted to embrace the I'm a business owner, I run a studio, I do this and that, there was no professionalism. We see that in the way, as soon as the book failed, he tried to blame everyone else. There was a point where he tried to change the byline. Not even tried. He changed the byline on Goodreads for the first edition and said, edited by so-and-so. And it's like, the only reason you would do that is because you want people to blame the editors and not you for why the book wasn't successful. Similarly, there was a book that came out called Shy Girl. I'm not going into the book itself because I don't care about that. The point is, when it was discovered that the book included AI, one of the things the author of that book tried to do was say, oh, one of the editors used AI and I just didn't catch it. Here's my thing. If you are an author, that book is yours. Your name is the one on the cover. And so everything in that is your responsibility. But even if it weren't for that, as an author, why would you just accept someone's edits without even looking them over? Normally, when someone edits your manuscript, they don't just go and change the manuscript themselves. There's notes of like, hey, I changed this a little, or this is something you can rephrase. You don't just let someone go and rewrite your manuscript and then why would you let someone else touch your work and then not check? I don't understand. I cannot comprehend that. My boyfriend does my beta reading, and he's very wary about changing my manuscript at all. The only changes he really fixes are little typos. One, he told me about it and was like, hey, I changed this and I changed this, and then I went to the notes on the document to double check what was changed. From what I understood, that's how most authors work. That's how most editing works, is they're not rewriting it for you, they're just giving you notes. Milo, how can you blame the editors for not doing enough? Didn't you read your book? The lack of professionalism in art is so frustrating to see. And here's the thing, as an author and an artist, I have mentioned that obviously these are the kind of things I would love to do as a living. This is what I would love to make money doing. And because of that, I am aware of the business side of things. And so sometimes, well, not even just sometimes, it's like when I journal about what I want for the future, I write down, I want to build a business. I want to have an art business. And sometimes I'm like, oh, if I think about that too much, am I at risk of falling into the same trap as Milo and going into this girl boss mode? I am very overly cautious. Like I said, one of my worst nightmares now is the possibility of making a mistake and someone saying, you sound like Milo Winter, or that seems like something Milo Winter would do. Terrified. New terror unlocked. Dark Souls boss music. Just thinking about that. I do think there is a difference between respecting and wanting to build a business with an understanding of what business stuff actually goes into it, as opposed to just the girl boss aesthetic. And to be clear, when I use the phrase girl boss in relation to Milo, that is not me being transphobic. It's just, I don't know another word or phrase to describe the vibe of how Milo talked about having a business. The audacity Milo had to go to an angel investor site asking for 6 figures to keep the studio going and trying to use the pre-sales as proof of concept after the complete failure of the book. It's such an odd thing. How do you feel entitled to that? How I don't. It's interesting. There is so much in this whole situation that I look at and I'm like, I understand how you got there. I understand the thought process, flawed or not, that led to you making that decision. At least I think I do. The angel investor thing is the one that stands out to me because I'm just going, you lost me. Everything else, even as I'm going, worst move, worst choice. That's the one I sit there going, how? And I said in my last video about Age of Scorpius that as soon as I heard that, I was like, it's done. It's over. No one's going to invest in that. But it also proves, if you still think you need 6 figures to run this studio, you've still completely missed the point. That everyone has been trying to tell you that your focus is in the wrong spot. It's done. And a few months later, sure enough, we got the announcement that it was done. The inevitable announcement that we all knew was coming. Okay, I have been recording way longer than I expected. I have covered way more thoughts than I thought I even had left to talk about with this. I do feel like I know I reiterated a lot of points from my last video, but I also feel like I touched on some new things, so that's good. This is gonna be a pain to edit. I'm recording this on Monday, so it's a good thing I have tonight and tomorrow to edit this all together, and hopefully it'll be up on Wednesday, as usual. But here we are at the end of the video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add, but I don't think there is. Again, if you're new to my channel, I am Song W. Erickson. This is my channel where I post videos about just whatever's on my mind. As I said, I previously did a Thoughts on Age of Scorpius video, and this is my further thoughts video because it was still on my mind. I think now, unless something new happens, I think I have said everything I can say about Milo Winter and the Age of Scorpius. The subject might come up in other videos that are on other topics, but I don't think I'm going to have a need, again, unless something else happens, I don't think there's going to be a need for me to do another video dedicated to the topic. Which means I now have to find other topics to do videos on. I have to go get ready for work. If you haven't, please check out my videos that I've done both on how I came up with my pen name as well as why I unpublished my books. And I have other videos you can check out as well if you enjoyed this one. I am very opinionated and I'm very dramatic, and I have a lot of stuff to say about a lot of things, apparently. Hence why I have a YouTube channel. Alright, I think I'm gonna wrap that up there. I don't think there's anything else I need to add for now, so please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Maybe consider giving the video a like and check out some of my other videos, and if you like those, maybe you can subscribe as well. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye! And guys, don't be Milo.